Alright, welcome to the second episode. I was filming halfway through this and then the sun come from that direction was blinding me, so second take of the second episode essentially. However, jumping straight into it, as explained last episode, we were going to be covering over objection handling in this episode today. Basically, everything that you do, as mentioned last episode, is pretty much having a debate on the door. So as you go through that debate, as you go through giving them that knowledge, trying to educate them at first about what you are selling, how it is beneficial to them, you will encounter objections. It's just part of the job. You're having a debate. They will say no. They will throw different things your way to show you why they're not interested. The most common scenario for me is more of a monetary sort of side of things, especially being in the solar industry, renewable energy industry. Monetary factors are the biggest thing, or just waiting for technology, whatever. So how we handle those objections, the most common formula that we use is called APECing. APECing is written down here. Basically what it stands for is A is acknowledge. So you sit down, they explain their issue. They explain why they aren't too interested in getting solar or whatever you're selling. So A, you go, listen, I completely understand why you feel that way. I completely get it. Everyone, you're not the only one feeling it. So many of your other neighbors have said the exact same thing to me about that's the reason why. They're not too interested at first, because it is expensive. It is something like that. So you're acknowledging them. You are, making them feel like they're not an idiot by feeling that way, and it also sort of breaks that barrier a little bit more, because you're like, listen, 100%, I do get what you're saying there. Then P is to probe. Probe. So once you've acknowledged their feelings, once you've validated them, then you probe it. So you go, listen, tell me a little bit more. So you push a little bit more, and this is starting to go into your pain points. So if it's a financial thing, that's usually fairly emotional. So this is when you'll start hitting more agitation. They'll start getting a little bit more angry. Not necessarily angry, but you will tell they become uncomfortable, especially sometimes speaking about finances. So that's when you're hitting that pain point. So you probe at them. You try and get them to give you a little bit more information. You try and get an exact event, for example. So if it's a financial issue, basically, you'll be like, listen, would you say it's the rising cost of living? You're like, groceries are expensive now, I get it, everything's getting more expensive, and then start talking more about that. And as you probe more, not directly asking them what their financial difficulty is, because they will not tell you outright, but slowly just probing by even telling them your own financial difficulties. Like for me, if they go, so if I acknowledge their feelings about, money sort of side thing, for example, and then I probe, I go, listen, I completely get a lot of your neighbors feeling that way. Even I'm feeling the stress now, man. What used to cost me $50 at the grocery shop, now it costs me $80. It's just all getting so expensive now. And they'll be like, 100%, mate. And then they'll start spilling in because they feel listened to. At the end of the day, we're humans. We want to be listened to. So when you make them feel like they've been listening to, they will start spilling. They will start telling you things. And based on what you hear from that, that's what you can use later on. You can, you understand what is going on in their head now. So that's your probing. So you've probed for more exact answers as to what is sort of holding them back. Next stage is E, educate. So basically from there, you understand their objection, you understand the pain point, you understand what's sort of holding them back actually deep down, that they wouldn't have told you in the first place if you didn't follow this process. If you just ask them outright, you wouldn't have gotten an answer. Now that you've understand what the issue is, now you can educate them. So for in my example, I will go, listen, it is actually affordable. You can get this done for no upfront cost. You can get this done using the help of government rebates, that sort of stuff. So you show them how it can be affordable if it's a financial issue, or whatever other issue it is. You educate them. You show them that you understand what their concerns are, but then you also show them how that's not the case. Not minimizing their issues, but just educating them, showing them that's not the case. So that is educating. Now you go to C, that's your close. So you've validated their feelings. They feel understood. You probe for more answers. They start spilling to you. There's already that trust factor there from the rapport on the first episode that I explained why it's so important. There's already that trust factor, so they will start telling you things because you're listening to them. You're actively listening. That's one of the psychological techniques as well, which will be covered in the next episode. So, okay, you get them to spill. Then you've educated them. You explain how their fears are not nearly as bad as what they think they are, or this is how it's possible, even with those concerns, for it to be affordable, for it to be a good product, for everything you heard about it to be wrong, whatever. And then you close. So then you loop back around into your pitch. So I'll break down a bit of a flowchart as well to explain that a little bit more detail, but once you hit that close, that's when you loop it all the way back around into your pitch, and then you explain that again in simpler terms, but this time they have that understanding of what you're talking about, including their emotional concern. So they're now thinking, they're like, oh, okay, rightio, there we go. So that's your APECing. So you've gone through that process. They now understand. You've dealt with their concern. You've gone back through the pitch, and then you might hit another one. What do you do with that one? You APEC it again. You acknowledge, you probe, you educate, you close. You loop it back through again, you explain it all again. You're repeating everything again and again and again in different terminology, different ways as based on how they receive it, until eventually they understand fully as what you are saying and how it's beneficial for them. So that is APECing. That is why it's so beneficial. You would just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Without this technique, you'll just be hitting brick walls and not sure what to do with it. This is a flowchart. This helps what you are doing on the door become natural. So it's more cohesive. It flows nicer with the door. So that's the APECing technique. That's something that I do use on the door. That's what most people will use on the door. It's just, something that you do need to practice quite a bit before. You just need to go up and, if you're new to a telecom role, if you're new to a field sales role, jump on the phone, knock on some doors, and practice that. No one's going to care. At the end of the day, I don't know how many people I've interacted with now. I've been on this job for a couple of months now. I've lost track of how many people I've interacted with. At the end of the day, no one cares. If you fumble the first door, bugger it, go to the next door. This time you're more practiced, you're more rehearsed. So that is APECing, and I'm just going to cut this a little bit out, and I'm going to add a flowchart for you so that you can also understand in a bit more detail, where you need to loop back around as part of your objection handling, what it will actually look like in a scenario on the door for you. Okay, welcome back from that short intermission there. Basically, going into the objection flowchart now. So, explained, you have your APECing. So, acknowledge, probe, educate, close. From there, this is a bit of a physical example as to what you might encounter over the phone or on the doors. This is what I like to call the objection flowchart. Very fancy. So, let's break it down for you guys. So, you hit your intro. You're introducing yourself, you're saying hi, you've got that rapport, as covered in the first episode. If you hit your first objection there, they don't know what you're doing. They don't know what you're selling. So, just make a bit of a joke out of it. Go from there. This is what I use. So make a bit of a joke. Be like, listen, mate, you don't even know what I'm here for. I could be, could be here to tell you you won the lotto. Or you just make a random joke out of it. Like, I remember one time I was knocking on a door, and we have a term in my office, not sure if it's universal, but in my office we call it being called nagged out. So you're just out of it. You're tired, you're done, you're exhausted mentally. You can't be bothered anymore. So you're nagged out. So what I found works best is I just start making a joke out of the whole thing. Not professional, but at the end of the day, it works sometimes. So one example of the joke I made on one of the doors was I knocked on it. I was tired. It was a long day. This is on a 2-week away trip where we were at in Tamworth for a while. And I knocked on the door. Lady opened up. She was not happy with me being there at all. Opens up. What do you want? I just went, mate, I'm just looking for my lasagna. And she had a good laugh with it. She actually found it very entertaining that I was just being stupid, but ended up getting her booked in, and she ended up turning into a sale. from that point onwards. So being able to make it very lighthearted on the door is very important, and that also just helped build a bit of rapport. Because you could tell I'm not that regular salesperson. I was tired. I just wanted to find my lasagna. So she was quite receptacle of that joke there. So not everyone will be, but if they lay off at the intro, unless you can make just a very sharp recovery there or break that ice straight away, you're not going to get anywhere anyways. So may as well make a joke with it, you know. So once you've breached that that joke, once you've break that ice, then you go into your intro. Back into your intro. So sometimes I'll cut you off straight away. You're like, yeah, listen, my name's Isaac. Going from there, once your intro is done, you go into your pitch. Now your pitch here, this is when you hit pretty much all your objections. Not quite all, but majority. So as you can see here, you got your pitch. So I can hold that straight. You got your pitch, and then from there you go into your objection. You understand the objection, you APEC it. And now understand, as we explained last time, you know what APECing is now. So you've APECed that issue, you go back into your pitch. You explain it again in simpler terms or in a different way. Hit another objection, APEC it again, go back into your pitch again. And you do that, you know, between 3 or even 4 times before you've even broken through that. They are now very educated at the end. It doesn't matter how many times you have to argue with them on the door. You're not arguing, you're just educating, you're APECing. So it doesn't matter how many times you have to do that. If they understand, that's all that matters at the end of the day. So you've gone through your pitch. Now you made it to your summary. Finally, after 3-4 times of going back and forth with them, you're pretty tired at that point. You want to start wrapping it up, but you don't do it yet. Still got more objections to go. You got your summary, and you go into your close. So you've summarized it again, and Layton's turns. At this point, they've already heard it a million times. So now you just summarize it. You make it very, very quick and sweet for them. So, because at that point they're tired as well from debating with you. So you hit your close, and this is when you will hit another objection, most likely, if they're not happy. So if they're not 100% satisfied, they might throw another objection that way. Usually it's one of the first objections they threw your way. Usually they're just not satisfied with your APECing. So they're just like, listen, money is still a really big thing, man. Like, I'm just still not sure if I can afford it. What do you do then? Go back and got the objection, you APEC it again. The exact same way, worded differently. This time, rather than looping back into your close to rush them, you loop back into your summary. You explain it all over again in a very short way, and this time include their objection as well. So you cover, why that affects them. Hit your summary again. Go back into your close. Close them again. Start signing up for an appointment. At that stage, hopefully, they'll be ready to sit down with a specialist or sit down with yourself again for the actual dealing, for the actual negotiation, whatever. Then you go into your prospecting, which we covered in the last episode. So that's your objection flowchart there. So that's the basic rundown as to what you will encounter on most of the doors, and that is how you will handle those encounters. So yeah, as I said, you'll hit the majority of your objections during the pitch, and maybe one more at the very end as well, which you have to APEC just like everything else you did before that. So that's the most common type. That's APECing. So this is what this whole episode is going to be about. It's just covering how to handle objections, which the APEC method works really, really well. That's coming from experience. So, when you go onto the doors, try the APECing method. If you haven't tried it before, it's something I use every single day. There's also another technique. It's feel, felt, something. I can't remember off the top of my head now. It's very similar to APECing. It's just more like an empathetic approach sort of style to it. It uses more of what's called the Jones Law, which is something we'll get into the next episode regarding psychological techniques. But for now, that is the conclusion of episode 2 of objection handling. So, last episode, we covered how your pitch works, which parts are the most important to concentrate on, and a bit of a breakdown as to how it all works. This episode is your objection flowchart, objection handling, and now we've learned what parts are most important to hit throughout your pitch, and now you've learned how to handle when people say no on the door. Next episode, we're going to be going into more psychological techniques that will help you just get a little bit further through the door there. Further help your success right there. But for now, thank you for tuning in again, and I'll see you all tomorrow.